This is Kimberly Quinn, host of the Mindcraft podcast, and I can't tell you how much fun I have had doing this podcast. I started when the world closed over the pandemic in an attempt to spread some positivity out there and give people some strategies to enhance their own well being and reduce anxiety and all of that. Now, 2 years later, we're still going strong and now listened to by 52 countries across the world. And I've even helped some of my students get going with their own podcasts. It's super easy to do. And I'll tell you, if you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it is the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. I'll just explain for you. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It is a ball. Start today. Greetings, Minecrafters. My name is Kimberly Quinn, and I am so pumped to have this discussion with you today on are you becoming the person you want to be? So, this is going to be a conversation about habits. And you're probably like, what does that have to do? Well, just wait because this is going to be such a good episode. I'm so pumped. I've been on the back deck just reading and thinking, and I just had to come in and have a talk with all of you because I'm just so excited. And I'll tell you that I've read a book. This is not where I'm coming from with this one, but it's related. Charles Duhigg's The Habit Loop I've used for my Minecraft class on for several years. That's what I'm trying to say. And now, it's interesting. Our daughter's boyfriend turned me on to this book, which is similar but different, called Atomic Habits, and that's by James Clear. And wow, I don't know that I'm not huge on expectations, but if I had expectations, what I've actually read wouldn't have been those. It's really has a different spin, and it has so much to do with habit forming. It's so much to do with identity, and which is a little different spin than the other book I used. They have some overlap for sure as far as the habit loop itself, but the part where changing our identity, to becoming who we are, is a whole different level. And I'm so excited to talk about this. And I will tell you, I really like where he goes with this. I love his whole perspective. And so instead of, many of us think, when I change my habits, that'll change who I am. Like, let's say, I want to start and I want to get in shape, right? I want to get in shape. So, so thinking about the goals, doing this many sit-ups or losing weight, losing this many pounds, being goal focused, stopping smoking, no more cigarettes or whatever, being goal focused. And not that it's a bad thing to have goals. We've talked about this before in other Mindcraft episodes, but this one, it's just super important because he's very, very focused on the process, as you know, I am too. But I love the spin on identity. Okay, so just before we go another inch, so this was a little overlap with the other book, but they're just a little different. So the habit loop is this, and if I could draw a circle or also like four squares, it would work that way. But here's the deal: there's a cue, right, and then that's followed by a craving, which is followed by a response, which is followed by a reward. So an example would be I'm feeling stressed, so I'm craving going for a run, followed by response, which is running, and then the reward is relief from the stress. Now, that's a healthier habit, right? We could easily say, I'm stressed, okay, I'm craving a beer, response, drink the beer, reward, feel less stressed, okay? So that habit loop is the same. And he zooms in, also as Charles Duhigg does, on changing the process. We're not looking to change the craving. We're not looking to change the reward. We're looking to change the process. This is how we shift out of bad habits and into good ones. What I also like about James Clear's take on things is that it's a gradual process. Too often, we again attach to the goals. I want to lose 20 pounds by, in 2 months, and that's when I start my new job or whatever. Or I want to do this by this date and that by this date. And basically he's all about slow and steady wins the race. And he actually does the math with it. If we have 1% change, just 1% change each day, by the end of, I think it's a year, but don't quote me on that, there's a 39% overall big change. So he talks about it all being cumulative. And often people sort of cave in on their goals too soon. They just aren't patient. Meanwhile, they're building, 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 and the results are inches from happening. And then, but they quit too soon. So I think a good example of that would be around, New Year's Day when people make their New Year's resolutions and all that. 3 weeks later, you go on Craigslist and there are gazillions of treadmills, being pawned off for half price. That'd be like a really good example. Okay, so there's the slow, the 1% per day thing, but this is where I really like the whole shift away from goals, which I've been into that anyway, shifting out of goals. Doesn't mean don't have them. It means to focus on the journey, which so James and I are right on track with both of us with that. Because think about it, I'm coming from a little different place, but very similar. Attention wise, we can only pay attention to one thing at a time. We only have 100% of our emotional and cognitive energy to give to anything. So if we're focused on the goals rather than what we're actually doing, we're actually taking away potential energy and focus from achieving the goal. So basically, the goal takes care of itself if we are focused on the process. And he's saying something similar, but I love this. So he's talking about rather than being attached to that goal, to become systems focused, because there are reasons that we are drinking after work. There are reasons that we are going for walks in the morning. There are reasons that we brush our teeth in the morning and in the evening because we like the feeling of a clean mouth. We have all kinds of things that are positive, negative, and some are just sort of neutral zone, I guess. Things that we just do. Grabbing an umbrella when it rains, kind of thing, without even thinking of it. And he talks about, though, if we really want to change our habits, if we really want to lose the weight or start the workout regimen, we have to change the idea of who we want to be. Picture sort of what an athlete would think and be and feel. It's all about the belief system. We've been talking about that for a very long time. Belief system. And he actually, James Clear talks about it in here, about a woman, a client he had, who lost, I think it was 100 pounds, by asking herself this question: what would a healthy person do? And she did that all day long. And of course, we know that it takes roughly 21 days for a habit to shift and stick. And obviously, that reason for average is because some habits are a little stronger than others. But she lost 100 pounds by asking herself that same question: what would a healthy person do? Somebody who wants to build that workout regimen, pictures them, maybe they're in their midlife. I'm a fabulous 57. Pictures them in their midlife, and then I picture myself. I'm in my midlife. Sorry. Picture myself at 85. I want to be in good shape. I do. I'm in decent shape now, and I want to keep it that way. So what does an athlete do? What would an athlete do? Would an athlete reach for that second or third glass of wine at night? And I like my wine, right? So this is a good question to ask. And does an athlete want that much sugar running through her body, kind of thing? You do the other, with also with smoking, and then he uses different examples of, and I can use this one for myself because I'm absolutely a lifelong learner. What would someone who's a lifelong learner do, who wants to, built up loads of cognitive reserves? So when she is 80 and 90 and maybe 110, skydiving, starting a new business, whatever, that she has her faculties, because lifelong learners, we know for a fact, when they're learning new languages and reading and studying, that you hold on to your faculties for much longer. If I want to become more knowledgeable, knowledgeable people read books. So what does a knowledgeable person do? They read. They explore new ideas, new things. What does somebody who learns a new language do? They talk, they look up YouTube. They set up there's a million of those. Not a million, that's grossly exaggerated. There are lots of sites out there. Like our daughter actually taught Spanish on one of them, called italki, that you can pay $5 or $10 per lesson. This is what people do. So his big thing is, instead of focusing on the goal, focus on the type of person you want to be. So ask yourself, are you becoming the person you want to be? And then what he says, James Clear says, prove it to yourself with small wins. So it goes back to that 1% each day. And I tell you, that really resonated with me, especially with my very fast mind. A much more positive way to talk about ADHD, right? I'm in the Fast Mind Club because I want everything yesterday. So as far as results, and it really, the slow, what is that? Slow and steady wins the race. So here we go. It's not about habits making us the person we are. It's deciding the person we want to be, and good habits will follow. And we're not saying, decide the person you want to be and then go sit on the couch, right? You have to grit, and effort. Decide the type of person you want to be. The habits will fall into place. And then prove it to yourself with small wins. Gosh, awesome. This could run into another conversation because I'm so excited. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off from Northern Vermont. Have a mindful day.